Hey guys, it is me. I just got out of the shower, so don't mind me. So congested, oh mess. But I wanted to take a second to talk to you about something. I'm in a couple of, ooh, that's even worse. I'm in a couple of heart attack survivor groups, and one of the questions that is asked the most frequently, I would think, is should I do cardiac rehab? And this is just my opinion based on my experience and based on research I've done. The short answer is yes, I feel like you should. The long answer is yes, let me explain why. First, let me explain what cardiac rehab is. Now again, this is my experience, and I have heard from other people that theirs is different, but this is what happens at my cardiac rehab. You go for 12 weeks, 36 visits, so 3 times a week over that course of that 12 weeks. That's what most insurance companies will cover. My insurance company, most insurance companies, I guess, if you miss, sucks to be you, you don't get to make it up. My insurance company allows me to make it up. That's what I'm currently doing. I missed 7 sessions because I was sick for, I think, 4 of them. Well, I was sick for all of them, but anyway. So I'm currently making them up. But you go, when your first visit, you go, and they sort of get your baseline. I go on 4 machines. I go on a treadmill, an exercise bike, the kind that you sit down on, and I can't think of the word right now. I have heart attack brain. This thing where you pedal with your hands, and then this thing called a new step, which is a therapy machine. The way I describe it is it's like an elliptical, but you're sitting down. And you go on those 4 machines for a prescribed amount of time. And when I first started, they had me put me on the treadmill, and they for 6 minutes, and they get your baselines. Now, the way they get your baselines is they have you hooked up to basically an EKG machine. There's the 4 probes on you. And when you first go in, they do your weight every day because they want to make sure you're not retaining fluid. They check your blood pressure, and they put this machine on you, and then you stand still for a minute, and they get where you're at, and that's where they base what your heart rate should be. So you go on I went on the treadmill for 6 minutes, and they sort of got my baseline, and then they went on all the other machines and got my baseline. And then I started off doing 6 minutes on each machine. If you can't do the full 6 minutes, you can't. And there are a lot of people that can't. And that's okay. But they slowly work you up. Like I'm at 9 minutes on each machine now. And so there's always someone monitoring. There's always someone sitting at a computer monitoring the results of the, I don't even know what the thing's called, the monitor. And they come and check my blood pressure at least once during the workout, and they check it at the end. So that's at least 3 times that my blood pressure is checked. And then on each machine, they come over and they give me a scale and ask how hard I'm working, and they note that down. Because at the end of the rehab, all of the sessions, they send a report to my doctor, and it will give him my EKG to show what my heart was doing the whole time. And it will give him how hard I was working, how many minutes, all of the information, what my blood pressure was, what it was when I started, what it was halfway through, what it was at the end, the whole bit. So that's what the main part of cardiac rehab is. They also do a lot of education. They talk to you about nutrition. And in my case, the sort of the party line for heart is the Mediterranean diet. Everyone wants you to do the Mediterranean diet. My cardiologist put me on the paleo diet. So they started to talk to me about grains, and I said, well, my doctor has me on the paleo diet. And they immediately went, okay, well then you want to do this instead. They knew, they know the difference and what it is. So they've also talked to me about things like stress relief, different breathing techniques that I can use for different situations, how, my medications, they went over each of my medications with me, any possible interactions, you know, take them with food, take them without food, make sure that I understood what they did and why it was so important to take them. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that they've done that we've gone over, but there's always a topic that they, you know, they talk to you about. So that's basically what it is. And now at the end, when I'm ready to graduate, they will come up with an exercise program that I can do at home or at, you know, at the gym. I obviously won't have the EKG, but, you know, I will wear my heart rate monitor. So that's what cardiac rehab is. Now, I was talking to them today because one of the nurses quoted a statistic that I thought was just insane. And it's going to look like I'm reading because I am. Because I want to make sure that I quote it correctly. So this was a Mayo Clinic study done a while ago, she said, but the numbers still hold up. And the synopsis is that participants in the cardiac rehab program exhibited marked survival advantages as compared to non-participants. After 3 years, the survival rate for participants in the cardiac rehab program is 95%. After 3 years, the non-participant survival rate is only 64%. I mean, that's a huge difference. And I think that part of that, I have a couple of theories. The first theory is I think that anyone who's going to participate in cardiac rehab is generally more willing to make the lifestyle changes that are usually needed. I think that's a big part of it. But I think that the education that they give you, plus for me, it was, they eased my mind. I was afraid to do anything. I was afraid to go for a walk too far and too fast. I wouldn't do anything unless someone was with me because I was afraid of what was going to... I was afraid to sneeze. I was afraid that if I sneezed, my stent would come undone and I would die. So I think a lot of it is they ease your fears. So I'm more willing, like Christmas Day, I think it was, we went and climbed some rocks at a park down the street from my house. I would have never done that if I had not been participating in cardiac rehab and knew that it was something that I was capable of doing. So I think that that plays a lot into it. One of the other statistics that I saw is another Mayo Clinic study that, let's see, where did it go? Here's what it says that, Mayo Clinic study finds that cardiac rehab reduces mortality by 45%. I mean, that is a huge number. That is a huge number. And I don't know. I don't understand why people don't do it. But anyway, so the last thing that I wanted to mention is a study that I found from 2015 that it says that women especially attend less than half of the cardiac rehab sessions that they're supposed to. And I don't know why that is, but one of the things, as women, you know, I'll tell you this, most of the people in my cardiac rehab are men. Most of them are also 70 and older. So especially as someone who's too young to have a heart attack, we have this resource out there that can help us. And some people can't afford it. And I understand that. My copay is $25 a visit. So my copay is $75 a week. And I understand that some people can't. And that's, you know, that's understandable. But when I was talking to the nurses, they said that they have some patients that just come once a week because that's all they can afford. They said they have some patients that called the hospital and worked out a payment plan with them. There are different ways that you can go about it. So I think that before you decide not to do it, exhaust all your options because it really is a beneficial program. I have, like I said, I've learned so much about stress relief, about, you know, and stress is a huge part of a heart attack. I read a statistic the other day that 46% of all women who have heart attacks will not make it to their first heartiversary, we call it. And that, I mean, that's just not right. It's just not right. So I'm wondering if the not attending cardiac rehab has something to do with that. So, I don't know. But in my opinion, yes, you should go to cardiac rehab. Not everyone's cardiac rehab is going to be as great as mine, and some people out there may have a better cardiac rehab. I doubt it, but mine's pretty awesome. But, you know, it just, it's a one of many resources that are available to us, and I think that we should participate. So I will, if I remember, I will link the studies that I quoted in the description, and I'll also I snapped a picture of the mortality rate synopsis from the study that they have at cardiac rehab. But you know, if I can remember, but you know, one of the things that the nurse told me, they go to the hospital while you're in the hospital, and they talk to you about cardiac rehab and tell you a little bit about it and give you the information and tell you that they'll be calling. And she said, you know, obviously she can't say much because of HIPAA laws. That's why I can't go in and film or even take pictures there. But she said some of the excuses that she hears, oh, my daughter's a nurse, she'll help me. Oh, you know, I have a walking track down the street from my house. Or one person, I guess, told her, this is my 5th stent or 6th stent or something. You know, I know what I'm doing. And I mean, I would have said if it's your 5th or 6th stent, maybe you don't know what you're doing, but she is much nicer than I am. So, you know, the bottom line is, yes, you may be a member of a gym and you may have a walking trail right by your house, or your daughter or daughter-in-law or wife or husband or whatever may be a nurse, but it's not the same. They're not going to hook you up to a machine while you exercise. They're not going to have a doctor on call, which is another thing that my cardiac rehab, they have a doctor on call, doctor in the building that if there's a problem will come down immediately and find out what's going on. So, all right, now I'm just babbling. So anyway, yes, go to cardiac rehab is the bottom line. Go to cardiac rehab. It is amazing. It is so very helpful, and you don't need to die. You don't need to die over something stupid like I didn't know what to do, so I just sat on the couch all the time. So, all right, I'm going to lunch. I'll see you guys later.